I know that it's been a rough road for all of us through these last 6 months or so. I'd like to welcome Tara Jasper, CEO of Sip Song Spirits.
Thank you so much, Sarah, for having me. I made this gin, and people ask me if I'm like a big gin drinker. I mean, I have become a gin drinker, but I wasn't necessarily like just a gin drinker when I started making gin, but I became allergic to wine. And it's really hard not to drink wine. I live in Healdsburg. I have so many winemaker friends. And so my friend suggested that I might like to try gin instead, because I have 3 kids. It's not like I can't. I do really like to have a drink or two at the end of the day. Like, it's pretty stressful with 3 little kids. So I started trying gin, and then I found like this really beautiful, like a botanical craft gin, and it was ridiculously expensive. And I was like, okay, like this is crazy. I went to the SRJC culinary school. I've made tea blends. I've done all kinds of different beverages. At the time I was making liqueurs in my kitchen, and I was already looking into getting a rectifying license, which is how you make liqueurs professionally. And so I was already kind of down the road a little bit when the light bulb just went off for me. It was like, I could make gin. I could do that. I was just sort of like, what? Oh my God, I can. And I love the internet because it's amazing how much you can learn. So I started watching YouTube videos. I started reading all the blogs. I called up the guy who started distilling.com and Distillers Magazine and the American Distilling Association. And the guy spent 2 hours with me on the phone. And like, I just dug in head first and just continued to learn, met all our local distillers and picked their brains. And then I ended up in England with my family, and I'd already started distilling a little bit, just getting my hands dirty, and I was distilling individual botanicals just to see what they would do when they were distilled. And it was amazing to see that. And just as a culinary artist, I was already starting to put the pieces of the puzzle of what I wanted the gin to be like. And then in England, we were visiting family, my husband's family. And of course the cousins freak out when they hear that I'm working on a gin. They were just like, you're what? No way. Like, this is the best thing we've ever heard. And so they took me to gin bars and distilleries over there where the craft gin movement was like really in full swing. I mean, there's thousands and thousands of little craft gin makers. And so I skipped one part of the story. One of the things that really drew me to gin is it is the most diverse of all spirits. And so that's what's really exciting about it. And I feel like in America, like we haven't really, maybe we're just beginning to see that. We're just beginning to play with that. Consumers are just starting to understand that. There's still a lot of vodka drinkers out there, but gin is just like vodka, but way more interesting. and it's really fun to play with in cocktails, especially when like this, where there's citrus, there's Moroccan sweet orange, there's a little bit of floral note. There's definitely like you were saying, like the garden. It's bringing the beauty of botanicals and Mother Nature into your beverage. And actually, there's a lot of healing qualities. So originally, it was a medicine. When it was first created, gin was created to be a medicine to cure seasickness. And juniper for thousands of years has been an anti-inflammatory. So, but alcohol inflames, so there you go. It's not really a medicine. But anyway, so I just recently, when I got back from the England trip is when I did this first blend that I love so much. And I have done a lot of other blends since then, but I kept coming back to that first one that I was really inspired by that trip, I think. And it turned out to be the first one I brought to market. So that's Indira. And she just won a double gold at the biggest international competition that we have in the United States. And that's at the San Francisco World Spirits Competition. And I mean, a double gold there is pretty much, I just said to my husband, I was like, well, I guess I'm done. I don't know what else I can do after that. Like, that's And he didn't really understand how big a deal it was. But I was just, yeah, blown away. And I'm getting media inquiries from like all over the place. And it's exciting, but it's also, it's a, you know, I thought I was just starting like this little business that I was going to just like putter, sort of like puttering in the garden. And then all of a sudden you've got like a estate. Anyway, I'm trying to figure it out. Well, I'll figure it out. But to the cocktail. I bet you're thirsty. Let's talk about the cocktail. Okay, so I'm gonna teach you a sour cocktail that I like to think of as like a base. It's beautiful just as it is, but there's so many fun things we can do on top of it. So make sure you have, just to make sure you have everything you need, make sure you have like a little glass. I have like a pretty little one like this. I put some ice in it to chill it. You can do that if you'd like. If you got the kit, you got this pretty little one here that I already put gin in. So, yeah, I just like to smell it. So I'm chilling that. What else do I need? I need a jigger, or you could have a medicine cup from a children's Tylenol. Works really great too. I have a strainer. I don't know if I put that on your list, but you don't have to have one of these. It'll just make it look extra pretty to double strain. So I just have like a little strainer. I have a juicer, and I have a knife to cut my lemon, and a little cutting board. I have some bitters, and I'll talk more about those later. I've got my gin, I've got my simple syrup, and that's all we're gonna need for this first cocktail. You might wanna, if you have a garden and you have any edible things in your garden, citrus leaves are pretty. I really like, I have these calendula flowers in my garden, and I'm gonna use that today. But if you've got some bachelor buttons, you can pick flowers, and they always just make your cocktail like extra special looking. I don't know. So we're just gonna juice 1 ounce of lemon. So, and ta-da, there we go. So if you have a jigger and it doesn't have any markings on it, typically the big side would be 1.5 ounces, and the little side would be 1/2 ounce. I have an EXO one that has 1 ounce on one side. I think is it 1 ounce on one side? Oh my God, you guys. I don't know. COVID has me losing my mind. I used to teach cocktail classes all the time. Okay, so I've got 1 ounce of lemon here. And then I'm gonna do 3/4 of an ounce of simple syrup. Now, some recipes will say to do equal parts simple syrup. So if you like a more sweet cocktail, you can go more towards 1 ounce or equal parts lemon and simple, but I like to take it back 1/4 ounce for myself. So that's where I like it. Also, your gin with Indira, you have that grape-based spirit, which has a little bit of sweetness to it. So try the 3/4 ounce and like, let me know what you think. Okay. All right. So now we're gonna pack a punch because COVID sucks, and we're gonna do 2 ounces of gin. You can do 1.5 if you want to be conservative, but I'm gonna do 2. So your big side is 1.5 ounces, and your other side is 1/2. But mine is bigger than that. But okay, there we go. We've got our Indira gin in there. So we're just gonna add a little bit of bitters if you have them. If you just have orange bitters, some people have those because you use those in an old fashioned, or Angosturas, you could use that too, that'd be fun. Or like if you had lavender bitters, those would be amazing. I'm gonna do 3 to 4 drops. I did 4 of the honey orange bitters that came with the kit. That's what I'm gonna use. And then I'm going to get ice and shake it. And that's how easy this is. And if you have lime juice instead of lemon juice, you could also do that. That would also be a sour gin cocktail, but that would be one with a different name. That would be a gimlet. So gimlets are delicious. I love those. So now we're just gonna shake. Yay, we got a mason jar. Sarah's got a mason jar. Yeah, mason jars work great. I mean, they do so many. I do so many things with mason jars. That's what we drink out of in my house. We're pretty casual over here. Yeah,
Works perfectly.
What? No.
It works perfectly for everything.
For everything, yeah. Okay, so now if you're gonna be like a really fancy bartender, you would have put an egg yolk, or I'm sorry, not a yolk, an egg white in here to make that froth on top. And that egg white, we're gonna shake it till you basically can't hold it anymore, and then we're gonna stop shaking. And that egg white would make that beautiful foam that you see on top that they do. And I don't know, I'm just not strong enough to do it. And so I actually borrowed something from my husband. Now you're just gonna strain this. If you don't have a little strainer, I think you should probably use maybe your lemon squeezer, or, I didn't really think about that because I told you guys to use mason jars. So I have this nifty top on my cocktail shaker, and it makes it so easy to strain out the ice. So hopefully you didn't make too much of a mess there, sorry. Okay, so now I'm just gonna put my little flower right on top here, and I'm done with mine. I don't know if you can see it. Ta-da! There it is. Cheers, everybody. I'd love to answer any questions you have, and if you don't have questions, I can keep talking about variations, but go ahead, shoot. Do we have any questions? Okay, I'll talk about variations for a second. So,
can you talk a little bit, actually, Tara? You had mentioned before some of the folks joined sort of the role of bitters in the drinks. Would you mind maybe sharing a little more about that?
Yeah, you probably can't actually put your finger on the bitters right now, but it's just accentuating all the other flavors, basically. And I, excuse me, after culinary school, I got to study with John Ash for a little while, and I absolutely loved it, and I learned so much. But one of my favorite things I learned was how our palates could taste 6 different things at once, and we can taste sweet and sour, and now I'm gonna forget them all, but there's bitter, there's umami, there's pepper, there's one more. Anyway, so what bitters do in cocktails is they add another dimension, because basically what John Ash would say is that if you hit at least 3 of those flavors, people are gonna be excited and really like the food. And if you can hit more than that, it'll be like mind-blowing. So right now we have the sweet, we have the sour, we have some botanical herbs, and we have the bitter. So this is just a really lovely, refreshing, very simple. It just shows off the gin. Anyway, oh my God, I love it. Okay, so another variation you can do is I have some raspberries. If you have raspberries in your garden, or if you have them in your freezer, I used frozen raspberries here. You can just throw those in the shaker and squish them with your wooden spoon. And then you have what's called a clover club. And it's the same exact recipe of everything else. And that's a clover club. And another one that's also almost exactly the same as this, you would shake up your lemon, your simple, your gin, and then you just add an ounce or 2 of sparkling water, and then pour it in with the ice and everything. You'd pour it into a Collins glass, and that would be a Tom Collins. So yeah, I just thought this is a really simple base to teach you a lot of different recipes. So yeah, so for those joining late, what else did they miss? Do we have everybody, or?
They're coming in. Do you want to talk, can you talk a little bit maybe about the Indira part of it? I'm not so familiar with gin, so is that a varietal, or?
So why did I call it Indira? Yes, good question. So, well, there's definitely some Indian spices in there. You're probably tasting the cumin and the cardamom. There's also a lot of coriander, and it's toasted right before it goes in the still to really accentuate it, and that kind of shows up right behind the juniper. I love gins that have a lot of coriander in them. So that's where I was, and I was also really wanting to name my gins after, or if I did any other product, I really just wanted to name things after women that inspired me. So it's funny though, this is sad. I mean, I never studied women's studies. If I had women's history, I would have known who Indira Gandhi was, but I didn't. But I have a friend, and her name is Indira, and she inspired me. She's like this strong, but like so delicately beautiful, but her personality is strong. She's a chemist. She's just like this total badass scientist, you know, lab coat wearing, you know, but she takes off the lab coat and she's stunningly beautiful. And like her wedding was in the paparazzi follow her around Europe. She's like this, anyway. So I'm really good friends with her from someone I grew up with. And so I called her up and I said, Indira, for some reason, I just want to name my gin after you. I think it's because you're like so brilliant and beautiful and just this like power woman. And she's like, well, that's very honoring. Like, of course you can name it after me, but you need to know I was named after Indira Gandhi. So if you use the name, like that's probably going to come up. And I right away bought a whole bunch of biographies. I thought maybe she was Mahatma's daughter. I didn't know who she was, which is embarrassing now that I know how incredible. And so Indira Gandhi was the Prime Minister of India for 18 years in the 60s, when women weren't even allowed to walk outside by themselves in India. To have her be such an influential world leader at the very beginnings of when India separated from Britain. Anyways, it's quite, her story is quite harrowing. And what I loved about it the most, and why I decided to name it Indira after that, I was advised not to. People are like, oh, it's way too political and don't do that. But I decided I really wanted to, because Indira Gandhi as a leader, she led for her people. She was never influenced by big money. Every decision she made was about how to better the lives of her people. She worked on irrigating and to get fresh water. She worked on growing crops and feeding the people. And like, she just was amazing as a leader. Anyway, sorry, long answer, but. And so I guess that it goes back to the why. Why the heck did I start a gin business? I don't know, I must be crazy, but I think it's, I've always wanted to start a business. I've always wanted to have a business. And then I married someone with a business, which really kind of annoyed me. I actually broke up with him once because I was like, no, like, you're going to need me to play like the supportive role. And I wanted to like go for it. You know, I wanted to have a career, and I knew that marrying him, it would be difficult. And anyways, my husband also is an SRJC alum. And he always says no when people ask him to do stuff, but he was at the JC when he started his business. When he was 21 years old, he started Sonic, the telecom, and he's still running Sonic. And anyway, it's exhausting, and he works constantly, but he's a wonderful human being. So it's hard to not want to spend your life with a wonderful human being. And he's always inspiring me. So anyways, I really wanted to do this so that I could, for one, prove that a woman can make an incredible gin. Everywhere I go, they assume I'm like the sales rep. Seriously, even at the dental hygienist, I just got my teeth cleaned, and she knows me, and she knows I was like, no, I make this. This is, anyways, I wouldn't be doing this if I had someone else making it. No, this is me and my creative expression and my love of flavor. And anyways, I'm so happy to get to share it with all of you. So thank you. I don't know what we're talking about.
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Yes.
So this is actually just kind of a comment. So I didn't have basic simple syrup. I had a hibiscus simple syrup that I made with some hibiscus tea bags, and it works so well with your gin. It works so well with your gin.
It would. Yes.
Anyway,
there's hibiscus in there actually. So I'm sorry, I'm getting a little warm. So that's a great way to do that. I'm so glad you brought that up, because that's another great way to do a variation on this very simple cocktail that we're having. And so, yes, you could use hibiscus tea. You could use even like green tea if you wanted to make a caffeinated cocktail, which is always fun. You could do, but I love hibiscus. There's actually a place in Napa that uses my gin, and they use a hibiscus tea. And so also this basic base that we made, you can put champagne on top, and that's what they do. So you put champagne on top, and then it's something called a French 75, and they're fabulous. So we just made the base for the French 75, and now you could add champagne and have a hibiscus French 75.
Perfect.
Which is even more fancy.
And
yeah, it's like we can just keep getting fancier.
I think I just read an article about you in the Press Democrat too. Did I?
Yes.
Were you just?
Yes, they just
okay, I
covered
thought
me.
That was you. Okay. Well, congratulations, and I hope you are well.
Thank you. Yes, I am finally. Well, I'm getting there. It's I got to keep my hair. I did that cold cap for the chemotherapy. And I got to keep my hair, and actually it's funny, I was talking earlier before we started recording about how I changed the recipe a little bit for the gin, and I did that right before starting the chemotherapy because I thought maybe I wouldn't get my taste buds back, and I was concerned. So I made those changes to Indira, and then, you know, it's amazing to have received an award like that. And I think, yeah, so many things happened while I was down for the count. I was down for about a year, unable to do really anything. I had a double mastectomy and chemo and 4 surgeries. And that really brought about for me, it turns out my cancer was a preventable kind of cancer. And so I really, really feel the need to talk about having it. You know, at first my husband was like, no, like, don't tell anybody, like this is your private. And so I did that for a little while, but once, like, you know, I was suffering pretty bad, I was like, I don't want anyone who has a preventable kind of breast cancer to suffer like this. It's preventable, and it's the worst part is preventable. So like the chemotherapy is preventable. You don't have to do that. And blocking your hormones, I have to block my hormones for the rest of my life. So that's preventable, which has like all kinds of different long-term ramifications. So basically there's inexpensive genetic testing now that wasn't available a few years ago, but the Supreme Court overturned or made this decision that this company that discovered the BRCA genes, the BRCA1 and BRCA2, it stands for BRCA, which is breast cancer, breast cancer. Basically they're markers for genes. And if you have one of those genes, it means you have like an 87 or greater % chance of getting breast cancer. And these are like, I know we hear about people getting cured more often from breast cancer, but really, like, I'm one of those people, but really that means that I have to block my hormones from here on out, which means my bones, my brain, my heart, like, will all have issues, not to mention a bunch of other things that we don't want to talk about on tape. But it's preventable. So we found out that my sister also has the gene, and so she's actually just had her reconstruction surgery the 22nd, so 2 days ago. She's doing great, and you know, and it's amazing what they can do with reconstruction now. Like, I just couldn't be happier. I feel like I got a free boob job. So that's what I tell people. I'm like, you guys, it's not that bad. It's not that scary. Like, you know, make sure you have health insurance before you get the genetic test. And that's really all you need to know. Because if you have it, your health insurance will cover your free boob job. So I call it free. It's sort of free. You have a copay and stuff like that. But, you know, this is like a $60,000 surgery that they did. It's amazing. Like, the outcome is amazing. I'm better boobs now. It's awesome.
It also, I think, led you to develop a cocktail that you call it Fight Like a Girl. Is that right?
Yes. Fight Like a Girl, which is similar to this, but the simple syrup is a variation, and it's a pomegranate grenadine that so yeah, and I'm just about to release it to my gin club is going to get a Fight Like a Girl cocktail kit. So I'm making the syrup for them. And anyone who's interested is welcome to join. It's just, I basically deliver ready to go cocktail kits. I have 2 coming out this year. And then when I make a seasonal gin, you will have like the first option to buy that. My spring gin is sold out. Like, you can't get it, but people wish they could. So it's like one of those things. So I only make 1 batch of seasonal gins when I make them, and they're just for my club. But anyway, so this Fight Like a Girl, the idea was I really wanted to spread this genetic testing stuff that I learned, because I have friends that went to their doctor and said, hey, my friend just got breast cancer. I want to get genetic testing because my mom had it. And they'd say, oh, well, did anyone else in your family have it? No. Well, that was my case. That same thing happened to me. Like, my mom died from breast cancer. It's very aggressive, the kind that we have in my family. And I wanted to get genetic testing. So did my sister. We both asked. And they said no, because you need to have more than one person in your family, or someone get it like before age 47 or something like that. And so if you don't have those two things, then they won't do genetic testing on you. You have to go pay for it privately. But the thing is, it used to be $5,000. When I looked into doing it privately, it was $5,000. And now in the month of October, it's $99, and they mail you a kit in the mail, and you spit in a cup and you send it back. Like, it's so easy. But Kaiser right now and Sutter, if you ask them, they don't tell you about this company. There's now a couple of companies. There's one out of San Francisco that I recommend just because they're local, but I get frustrated by that. And actually my surgeon even got frustrated by that, because I was the one who told him about it, and he checked up on it. He was like, that's great. So he's been trying to get Kaiser to tell people, but as of right now, last I spoke with him, they have not decided to share that. So anyway, so it's up to me. So I started Fight Like a Girl so that I could, like, the idea is that girls, we're super smart and we avoid a fight. So we're just like, you don't have to fight cancer. You could just get a free boob job if you have the gene, you know, it's the smart thing to do. But it's really exciting because places like, so many awesome bars around Sonoma County picked it up. I think about bars used it last year. I need to get back on the phone and remind everybody, but I know right now Harmon Guest House is definitely going to do it. And they're actually going to do, they're so sweet. They're so sweet. And they're like, can we just do 3 sips on cocktails and do a non-alcoholic with your tea and just make it like all sips on for the month of October? I was like, sure, sure, you can do that. That's so nice. But anyway, I have had a ton of support from the local bartending community, from my gin club, and from the media, like you guys, as you saw on the Press Democrat, and there's more media coming out. It's been a little bit crazy for me. I'm like, sorry guys, I keep sending the same picture because I haven't, like, who wants to take a headshot with COVID hair? Not me. I did one, but I don't really like it. But
You mentioned you do seasonal gins. How do you decide, and the flavor profile and all that stuff? How do you start that process?
Well, yeah, so that was actually really my first inspiration when I thought I could make gin. I was like, oh my gosh, like how cool would it be? Like the moment in Sonoma County when everything blooms and blossoms in spring and the air just smells amazing and clean and fresh. And I was like, that's the gin I want to make. So that was originally when I thought I was going to make gin. I wanted to figure out how I capture that moment and put it in a bottle. And I knew that people were doing that in Europe. And I was like, okay, I'm going to figure this out. So I even watched YouTube videos in German. It was like, okay, like how are they doing that? So I learned a lot. And my first batch of spring came out in 2019. And basically, what I love about it is that it puts me very, very much in sync with nature and being outside and hiking. And my dad actually has led botanical tours in Sonoma County for like 25 years. So I just have this like knowledge from him, you know, what the different wildflowers are. And so anyway, I just went out and started experimenting. Actually, it was a very daunting task. When I first started working on Indira, it wasn't springtime, so there was nothing, I couldn't work on that yet. So that's why I started working with dried botanicals and started making Indira. And then and then things got really busy, like Indira was launching. The next spring was like right when Indira was about to launch. I was way too busy to think about anything else. So I didn't get a 2018 spring made because my mind just wasn't there. And 2019 spring was rolling around. And I was busy still, but then I had this gathering of females, all entrepreneurs and leaders at my house. There was like 30 of us in the room, and it was so powerful. And that next morning I woke up and was like, I'm making spring. I'm doing it. It's like, it's happening right now. You guys are not going to see me. I just like disappeared for a week and spent every waking moment that I had thinking, trying, testing, lab experimenting, like, and so I ended up with cherry blossoms and fava flowers and pea tendrils, Doug fir tips, iris root, trying to remember what else. I used a few dried botanicals. Oh, there was some pink rose. Excuse me. There was also some dried green cardamom pods, green peppercorn. I was really going for like bright, fresh green flavor. So the label's green. And it, yeah, it's just really, really special. And I want to keep getting to connect with Mother Nature like that and getting to capture those moments. And what's cool is gin doesn't go bad. Like you could open this, you could put it in your car. I wouldn't recommend putting it in your car once you've opened it on a hot day though, because it will expand and it will blow the top and it'll make a mess. But you can, with that plastic seal, when you buy it, that seal that's on there will keep it fine in your car. So it's not like wine, you don't have to worry about it quite as much with temperature changes. It's already been through a lot going through the distillation process. So yeah, does anyone have no questions? I'm surprised. I'm talking a lot. Do you guys want to make another cocktail? Are you done with that first one? Are we seeing nods? We're seeing nods. Okay. So let's see. Do you want to just do a Tom Collins because that's the recipe you have? Or if anybody has any frozen raspberries, I'd say go grab some right now. It might be, I think I'm going to do a Clover Club for mine. And I was thinking about being really crazy and trying an egg white. So if you want to go grab an egg and try an egg white with me, I'll teach you guys how to dry shake, which supposedly that's the secret to getting your egg whites to froth, which I'm not sure if I'm strong enough yet, but I've been lifting weights like crazy so I could lift a case. I'm still not there yet, but I'm trying to see, look at it. I got some little muscles. So, okay, and I'm gonna cheat a little bit. So this is, I don't know if you can see that. This is what my husband uses in his protein shakes. Dane puts these in his protein shakes. And so I'm hoping that it's going to help me froth my egg. I don't know, because I'm so wimpy right now. We'll see. We'll see if it works. Okay, so go grab an egg and I'll meet you back here in a minute. Okay. Okay. Yay. So, oops, that's not very sanitary. All right, I've got my local farmer's market egg here. So maybe we'll separate that first. It's so strange not being able to see everybody. Like I'm used to Zooms where it's like everybody and I'm not the only one talking. But I'm so glad you guys asked me to do this. It's great. Okay.
Have you?
Yeah. Okay. I'm trying to crack my egg on a plastic table and it's not working. Okay. Here we go. I'm surprised I haven't had more interruptions from the peanut gallery here. But okay. So I got my egg white and I'm going to throw my raspberries in there. So basically we're going to add all the ingredients except for the ice. So don't add your ice yet. That's why they call it a dry shake. I wish I had a towel. Okay. And then, so then I'm gonna do lemon. And if you thought that was too sour, you can, definitely up your sweet. I think mine was pretty good for me, but I love a sour cocktail. But okay. So, so one of the things that really helped motivate me was I had a friend who's in the bartending world. He wrote a book called Artisanal Cocktails for Williams-Sonoma. back when he started the bar program at Cyrus. I don't know if you remember that restaurant in Healdsburg. It's been a while since it's been closed, but it was an incredible restaurant. Douglas Keene had, and their bar program was ridiculous. That's when I fell in love with cocktails to start. It was like they were works of art, and that was this friend of mine that created that bar menu. Anyways, so I had not let anyone taste what I was doing. Honestly, you guys, I didn't know how illegal distilling was at home. I didn't know that. You could buy still on the internet. And I hadn't read the TTB website yet because I wasn't sure what I was doing. So anyway, I bought this little still off the internet and I was playing around with it at home. And that's when I made the first batches of Indira. Not for sale, just for me, just to try. And I didn't know, I just thought if I wasn't selling it, that it was okay. Now I can't remember if I put the simple syrup in. I did. Okay, so I've got 1 ounce of 1 ounce of lemon, to go over this again, 3/4 ounce of simple syrup, and then I'm going to do 2 ounces of Indira gin. Actually, I have a smaller cup this time. I'm going to do 1.5 ounces because I have the foam and a little bit of a smaller cup. So I'm going to tone it down a bit. Take it down a notch. Okay, and then I'm going to put my funny little thing in here. If you guys have one of these funny little things, you might want to try it. And now we're going to shake for like 30 seconds really hard. Okay, so just like go crazy. You're trying to basically beat that egg white. And that's what creates this beautiful foam. And if you have a hibiscus, if you do create a foam, you can make these beautiful dusted hibiscus leaves. Okay, mine is exploding. Ooh, it's pretty frothy though. Wow.
Do we put bitters in on this or no?
Oh, if you are doing, you don't need to do bitter. You can if you want. I didn't, because I just want the raspberry. I could. I wish I had some cardamom bitters handy. If I had cardamom bitters handy for my raspberries, I would do that. If you guys are doing, I mean, you could. It might be fun to taste it without it, just to see the difference. So now I'm adding my ice, and I'm going to shake it again with the ice. Wow, this totally worked. Wow. I'm super excited. Okay, so now I'm using that ice to water it back, just like I normally would, so it's really cold. The ice melts and waters back that cocktail, and also, gets it nice and cold. So I guess I'm gonna double strain again. Wow, I can't believe I made this. Okay, because I've never really done foam before. And what's cool is you get protein. And that alcohol will kind of, it will sanitize the egg yolk. So, or not egg yolk, I keep saying egg yolk because I'm a baker, but that egg white will get sanitized. Oh God, this is incredible how gorgeous this is. Okay. I'm feeling really cool right now. I can't wait to show you guys. Okay. Oh, okay. It's taking forever because the raspberries are blocking my strainer here. All right. What? This is so good. Okay, I'm going to steal the flour from the other drink, although it's seen better days. Okay. I hope you guys are having as much fun as I am, because look at that. Cheers.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much for having me and for joining me for some cocktails, you guys. Oh my God. I can't believe I made that.
Does the egg white affect the taste?
It affects the texture a lot, which does, it gives it this more of a creamy smoothness. It's really, really lovely. And it allows you to float pretty garnishes on top too, which is fun. But it doesn't taste eggy at all. It just tastes, it's just like a textural change. Oh, wow. Thank you for asking questions. And how many people do we have with us today?
We have a bunch.
Cool.
I just want to say thank you, Tara, for sharing your expertise with us, as well as your beautiful and delicious gin. And then thank everybody for joining us from SRJC. We are doing these virtual workshops because we can't be in person anymore, but we are big believers in lifelong learning at the college. And so we have a whole series of these virtual workshops. You can check it out on our website. But we're grateful to have you join us tonight. And we're especially grateful for Tara for sharing her expertise with us.
My pleasure. I just wanted to say, so I don't have the gin sour recipe on there, but the French 75 is on my website. So I have a recipes tab on my website. So a bunch of my favorites. Another one that's with lemon and Lillet, which is an aperitivo. That and gin equal parts. A Corpse Reviver. For some reason in October, it's my favorite. So that's at the top right now. So anyway, just go check out the recipes tab at sipsongspirits.com, please. And thank you so much for having me.